Hello and welcome back. In today's talk on What About the Resurrection, I want to introduce the idea of new creation. In Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17, he writes, "If anyone is in Christ, there is a new creation. Everything old has passed away. See, everything has become new." So what is Paul getting at here, and how does this connect to resurrection? That's what I want to dive into today. So sometimes we lose sight of the vast, incredible implications of the resurrection. It's not just a magic trick or a one-off miracle to prove Jesus' divinity, although it does do that. It actually does more. It points back to creation and points forward to new creation. It affirms the goodness of creation, yet also looks forward to something even better in new creation. So let's look at the Gospel of John as an example of this. The New Testament overflows with creation imagery, especially in the Gospel of John. We often limit ourselves when we only see the Gospels as journalistic play-by-play accounts of Jesus' life. This is an important aspect of them, but they're also artfully constructed to make important theological points. So, as we all know, the Gospel of John opens with, "In the beginning," just like Genesis 1. And then the Gospel claims that the very logos, or word, or wisdom of God, which orchestrated creation, has now been embodied by Jesus of Nazareth. The Gospel of John is then organized around 7 signs, which reveal Jesus as Israel's Messiah, and also follow the structure of the 7 days of Genesis. So let's start with the first of these signs, the wedding at Cana, Jesus' first miracle where he turns water into wine. This provides a good metaphor for new creation. Creation itself is very good. It's very good wine. But then Jesus comes and introduces an even better wine in the middle of the party. This is the first sign. And then John mentions the second sign, the healing of the official's son. And then throughout the rest of the gospel, Jesus heals the man by the pool. He feeds the crowd. He walks on water. He heals the man born blind. And then the 7th sign is Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And then the gospel culminates in Jesus' last week, a holy week of days leading up to the Sabbath, which correspond roughly to the days of Genesis 1. For example, the 6th of these days, the day where Jesus is crucified, references the 6th day of creation when God creates humans in the image of God. Jesus is presented to the people of Jerusalem by Pilate, who declares, "Here is the man." And then Jesus, who is the perfect image of God, is lifted up on the cross for all to see. Then Jesus announces that his work is finished, similar to the 7th day of Genesis. Then Jesus dies, and he rests in his tomb on the 7th day of the week. Then he is resurrected to new life on the 8th day. And this is also the 8th sign in the Gospel of John. This 8th day is the first day of a new week, the first day of a new creation. And then, kind of as the cherry on top at the end, Mary Magdalene encounters the risen Jesus, but mistakes him for the gardener. So just as creation began in a garden, new creation begins in a garden with Jesus as the gardener. So the resurrection inaugurates a new creation, bursting forth from the empty tomb right here in the midst of the first creation. So how does resurrection point both backward and forward? Well, resurrection is about patterns and realities already in creation, but it's also about pointing forward to new realities in the new creation. There's a resurrection around us all the time. You have seasons, like right now it's spring. The life of spring and summer follow the death of fall and winter. A season of your life ends and a new one begins. A generation passes on and a new generation takes their place. But the resurrection of Jesus reveals something new. Again, people don't just come back to life like Jesus did. Something new is bursting forth. Jesus' resurrected body is different in the gospel accounts. He appears to his friends and disciples and then vanishes. He appears to Paul on the road to Damascus. But then he's hungry and eats a broiled fish in front of his friends. He has a human body, but it's new and improved. And so this connects into what we've talked about in earlier videos, how the Jews of the Second Temple period thought that the resurrection of the dead and the end of the age was coming. But to the surprise of Jesus' followers, this newness bursts forth right in the middle of things going on in Jesus' resurrection. So in the midst of the first creation, this new creation is bursting forth, starting with Jesus' resurrection. And we're participating in this new creation now. As Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians, anyone who is in Christ is a new creation. We're living it right now. So what does this look like for us now? Well, that's what I want to talk about next time. In the meantime, you can send any feedback, questions, comments to Gustavo and myself, and look forward to seeing you next time.